Hi everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and as you can see I am back with my doors here in Colin Thompson's colouring book. I have got a little selection of goodies with me today. Aside from the water soluble pencils I had last time and the Neocolor crayons, I thought we'd mix it up a bit today. So in this little tin here, this tin had other paints in it. Someone sent this to me as a gift, which is amazing. But I have kind of moved things around a little bit on account of having far too much paint and the fact that Julia enables me on a regular basis. And these are her holographic paints and you can see them twinkling away there on the samples on the lids. And I thought it might be kind of cool to maybe stick some of this over the top of some of our doors here just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I thought that would be fun to do. And as last time as well, I have got my Kuretake Zig water brushes here and they are all filled up and ready to go. A little bit of scrap paper here just to wipe my brush off on. And yeah, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. The one thing I have had a think about is what we're going to do regarding the metallic elements, and I've brought out this to show you. I'm probably not going to do this today. These are the Gansai Tambi Starry Colours paints, which are metallic paints by Kuretake, the same people that make my water brushes. I have had this palette since I got it in a scroller box in 2017. You can see that they last forever. I particularly like the yellow gold, not that you'd ever know. So I thought we could maybe use that for some of the metallic elements, the latches and whatnot. And when it comes to silver, I'll probably pick one of Julia's colours, just because I can. I'm going to get stuck in. I'm going to start today with the Neocolor Light Olive. And I'm going to put it on this unit here. Now some of you may remember last time me talking about like a sage green colour perhaps, so that's kind of what I want to go for here. It's going to be a little bit more difficult with the grey, obviously being grayscale there is a grey element to some of these doors, so it's quite difficult to figure out how this is going to turn out when it's activated with water, but we shall find out and go from there. That was fine. Somebody mentioned in the comments under the last video that I'd coloured 9 doors. It wasn't 9, it was 8 and a brick wall. But I'll take that. If you want to count that as a door, I'll take that. The other comment as well that I just wanted to comment on was there was a couple of people that mentioned using substances to augment the paper to protect it from water soluble medium. One of them was gesso and the other one is watercolour ground. I have tried gesso in colouring books before, and to be fair, see if you're just going to use watercolour, it's absolutely great. You can get it in clear, you can get it in, well, you can get gesso in a couple of colours. If you're just going to be using watercolour on it, then absolutely. I have tried it before and I like to use pencil over the top. You know the way we did here, use some dry pencil, and I don't like the way the pencil goes down on top of the gesso. It feels really, really rough. And I found that it's also really easy to smudge your pencil after that as well, because it's kind of sitting on top of the grain of the gesso. So it's, I'm not saying that you can't do it, you absolutely can. I personally just don't like it and I don't like the feeling of it. I have not tried watercolour ground, and I'm trying to remember who it was that mentioned it. If you could possibly pop up in the comments and maybe make a suggestion as to where to start with that, I would really appreciate it, because it's something that I haven't tried. Maybe we can try it out on the channel in a colouring book and see how that feels and see if Jem likes it or not. So yeah, if you're around the person that commented before, I'm really sorry that I can't remember who it was. But yeah, I would really appreciate that. I was kind of hoping that the grey would mute this down a little bit more. It hasn't, but that's okay. I kind of like it like this. This is one of these ones where I might just leave it with the flat colour, you know, I might not bother doing anything on top of it, just leave it as is. In the stash shop today, I have popped in the little acrylic squeezy tubes from the last scroller box. They will be in there. I've bundled them up with the magenta Sennelier one that we had from ages ago. I haven't used it since I used it for the box, so that is an indicator that it really doesn't need to be in the cave. So if you want to make use of those, or you fancy a wee shot, and maybe you don't get the subscription boxes, head over to the stash shop and that will be there. I also have a set of Jelly Roll pens and some unused paintbrushes as well from my own personal collection that I'm sticking up if anybody wants to grab them. They're super cheap. Go and check it out if you fancy an exotic paintbrush for yourself. Let's come down here now. I feel as if I want a bright red door, like a really raw kind of door, and I kind of want to do it in the the Neocolor as well. This is Scarlet. I don't know which door would be an appropriate door. Every time I think of red doors, it makes me think of my in-laws. Red doors are a thing where they stay in the south of Ireland, and I thought there was maybe some kind of significance behind it, and my father-in-law just said that people just have a thing for red doors. I was like, okay, never mind then. I was looking for some deep and meaningful significance. Oh, maybe we should do this one up here. Oh no, I think it should be this one. Look, I'm going to make a couple of extra lines inside those panels. We're going to make this one sing. So again, using the smallest water brush here, just because we want to get a level of detail in there as well. And it also helps as well, I find with the Neocolors, they can go down, if you put them straight onto the paper the way I've just done, they can go down pretty unevenly because of that crayon-like quality they have. So if you've got a smaller brush, it's a bit easier to push the pigment about, especially if it's on paper that maybe isn't particularly cooperative. So that's just a something to note. So we'll let that one dry and I'll come back to that and we'll do a bit more. Nice to have a little pop of colour there. I also took into consideration all your suggestions about this door and a door and a door, and most of you seemed to like the fact that whatever colour I made this, that these should be lighter versions. So we're going to go with that as well today. Need to get cracked into the big Derwent pencil case here. Autumn brown. Yeah, okay, because if we make this the darkest one on the outside here... Oh, this looks like a different bit of wood. Doesn't look as if that belongs to the same... Okay. Because the shading is really dark on this, then that is going to help us with this idea that one bit's a lot darker than the door that's inset into it. Obviously it's inset into it, you know what I mean. So I'm just putting a layer of this autumn brown down, and I'm just going to go a section at a time here and make sure my brush is cleaned off. I say, because there's so much shading in here anyway, this is going to naturally look a lot darker. So this pencil that I've just used, I realised that I didn't call it out there. This is a Graphitint pencil, the grey barreled ones. So this is water soluble pigment, but it's mixed in with graphite as well. So you tend to get a bit more muted colour out of it rather than you know, the sort of kapow of the Inktense pencils, and I really like them for that. I'm going to wait till this dries. That was really paltry in pigment there. I want more than that down. I can't do it while it's wet though. I'm going to have to wait for it to dry and go back in. I'm trying to avoid this really intricate hinge system we've got going on here as well. It's proper fancy. We'll deal with that. We'll deal with that later. Ooh, try and get a bit more colour down here. This door here was only ever going to be red or green. I know this in my soul. Don't ask me how I know that, but I just know. Oh, I like it already. Again, little brush here. Tuck this round. I was going to talk to you all about the live stream, and then I realised that this video is probably going to be up after the live stream, which kind of got my kind of met myself coming back the way with that. Yes. So I am still living quietly in the grand scheme of things. I am really not doing much at all. I just need a quiet couple of weeks to sort of gather myself together, which is fine, that's okay. One of my more recent hobbies that I've picked up, and it started when I stopped smoking last year, was I started building Lego, and it was initially used as a, maybe not a deterrent, maybe a distraction from wanting to go and smoke in the very early days when the cravings were really strong. So what I did was I bought myself a great big set of Lego, like a really expensive big set with thousands of pieces in it. And every time I felt like smoking, I used to go and, you know, build a piece onto the Lego set. Well, that was the worst idea ever, because all the money that I saved not smoking, which is an absolute fortune by the by, I have pretty much spent it all buying Lego. So so this week, one of the retired buildings that you can't get anymore, the modular buildings, I found an incomplete one on eBay, and some of the parts were quite faded, and I thought it would be a good idea to buy this and, you know, like replace the missing parts and some of the faded part. It was like faded bricks that had been sitting in the sun. I'm kind of down a rabbit hole with it now, honestly, and yeah, I just spent far too much money on Lego bits that I actually don't need now, because it's one of the older sets, and with the buildings, the baseboards are grey, and you know, to make a sort of like a pavement out the front of whatever building it is. So like one of the ones I've got is the police station, so you're going out, you know, or get, for you guys in the US, you know, the sidewalk. And this one that I got on eBay is one of the older ones, and it's the old-fashioned green base plates, which were the only base plates that were around when I was very young. So I thought it would be a good idea as well to replace those with grey ones to match the other modular buildings that I've got, because I've got another 2 already. So I started digging about on the internet trying to find the same size board but just in dark grey instead of green, and one came up on Amazon, which I thought, struck it lucky there, and it wasn't too expensive, so I thought, well, I'll just get that, and then, you know, it means it'll come fairly quickly because it's Amazon, and I can get started with the build, because if you don't have the base plate, obviously you can't do anything else because you start at the bottom. This grey base plate arrived and it was about 16 times the size of my head. I'd ordered an absolutely massive one completely by accident. I thought it was the right size, but it turns out they had boards in other colours that were the right size. It just doesn't come in the dark grey. So I've had to send that back. So I'm still baseboardless, and I've ordered faded parts. So the white parts that have gone yellow, I sat and went through every single piece of Lego and picked out the worst offenders. I ended up going on to one of the sort of trading websites. It's a bit like eBay for Lego bricks, and ordered all the replacements. Half of them are coming from Austria, which is great, and the other half are coming from the US, and I paid the same in postage as I did for the actual Lego bricks, so that was delightful too. Mr. Jem knows none of this. And I fully intend to keep it that way for the time being. He does not need to know that I've just spent like £40 on white Lego bricks. Like, he just doesn't need to know that right now. Yeah, so I'll not be doing anything with my latest purchase. I did, the actual set that I bought, I did pay well under, you know, very, very much under the going rate for a complete set. It was a complete bargain. And even with buying the replacement bricks and changing out the base plate, actually, which I hadn't factored into the original calculation, it's still miles cheaper than bidding for one of the full sets on eBay, you know, like one of the complete sets. Going over the lines there, boo. So it's been a little adventure, this one. I don't know if any of you are into Lego. None of you have mentioned it thus far, but I hadn't really paid much attention to Lego, you know, as an adult. But obviously, well, like many other people, played with it as a child. And the Lego has come a long way since the early 90s. It really has. It's come a long, long way. And it's quite interesting to see how pieces are being used now. The standing joke is about the sausage. There is a Lego sausage. It obviously belonged to a butcher set at one point, and it has found multiple uses since. I have recently built the jazz club, and the sign out the front of the building has like a yellow border around it, and it's like this, you know, it's like an oblong shape with rounded corners, and there's 2 yellow sausages, and that makes up the top and the bottom curve of the sign. I was like, oh, there's a, because I'm looking at the pieces, you know, when you take them out of the bag, and I'm thinking, why have I got 2 yellow sausages? Like, what do I need these for? So I'm just having fun with it. I really am. But it's kind of a standing joke that if you've got a Lego hobby, you might as well smoke. And now I understand. But seriously though, I mean, if you're going to have a hobby like Lego, I mean, it's just like colouring. If you want to spend the big money, you can. You don't have to though. There are some really, really cute small sets that really sort of encapsulate really clever build ideas. So you don't have to break the bank if you want to get into Lego, but I am thoroughly enjoying myself. Okay, so we'll let that dry. I'm actually thinking I might just leave that a little bit. It just looks as if it's maybe got a little bit more light hitting it than this door. Oh. Right, so now I want to find a stone colour, and I think I'm going to go with a grey of some description. Cool grey. What about a cool grey? I think this is going to be too light in all honesty. I'll just show you here on this scrap of paper to get a bit of water flow in the medium brush here. Forgot I haven't been using it yet. Is that going to be... That might be a bit boring. And saying that, she says it might be a bit boring with a purple door next door. I think we'll be fine. I really like doing brickwork. I've got a bit of a thing about it. I really enjoyed it in the An Enchanted Forest in the Johanna Basford books. As you get towards the end of the book, you come into sight of the castle, and obviously there's quite a lot of stuff like this going on. And yeah, I really like it. Like, I've got no idea why. Considering as an artist, I don't like drawing architecture, you know, I think that's quite odd, and obviously I'm just being awkward and contrary, but I don't know, I just really like these kind of bricks. I'm still working away on my page in the Ink House as well, and that if you remember, that was Freddie Foxglove, and there was a lot of brickwork in there as well, and I've done most of it in there as well, because I like doing it. It's just the plants I've got left to do. I'm kind of short on time this afternoon. I was hoping to actually do a little bit more on that page just while I've got the Inktense pencils out anyway, after I finish filming this video. I don't think I'm going to have time. I was really far behind today because I've got like a little schedule that I keep to anyway. And I'm filming this on Monday. You guys, I'm hoping you'll see this on Thursday. So I've started doing a little bit on the YouTube shorts and some more TikTok videos. And oh my goodness. When you're trying to do a YouTube short on mobile, because that's what they want you to do, that's how like they encourage you to do it on that, because that's supposed to be what it's for, it's an absolute nightmare. I've only been using TikTok like once or twice, so it's not as if it's ingrained into me. But the TikTok app, when you're actually editing your video, it's really easy to use, and it's very, very similar to iMovie, which is on your iPhone, also on Macs as well. Those of you with Macs, so I'll be familiar with that as well if you've ever done any footage editing. And I just assumed that the YouTube Shorts one would be the same, and it's so awkward to use. It's not really set up and designed properly. It's as if they've rushed it out because TikTok are doing well, and it's like, well, we need to get this going. So I've spent quite a bit of time messing about with that today, and I gave up, and eventually I downloaded some other software to edit my videos in, because I found out as well, apparently, I don't know if there's any truth in this or not, but that obviously this whole idea of shorts is quite new to me still, you know, the short form videos, and there was a lot of things being said about if you export your TikTok videos into YouTube to put it up as a short, because it's got the TikTok watermark on it, YouTube basically ignores it and won't input it into the algorithm so that people see it, so it won't be boosted for views basically, because you're using TikTok basically, and YouTube don't like that. So again, I don't know how much truth there is in that, but I've made a bit of a decision on the content for that anyway, and what I'm doing is I am taking my old videos, and I mean like my really, really old videos, like from way back at the beginning, and I'm cutting them down and making them into TikToks, because it's been enough time has passed now, let's face it. I mean, the channel's 5 years old. If any of you were in the live stream yesterday, bearing in mind I'm filming this on Monday, but the live stream's on Wednesday, you will know that the cave has just turned 5, so there's well over 600 videos on the channel, and obviously not all of them are particularly suited to turning into shorts, but I thought for a fresh audience, because the demographic on TikTok is very, very different to what we've got here on YouTube, so I thought it might be quite nice to sort of recycle some of those old videos, dust them off, and, you know, let them see the light of day again. So that's kind of my plan for TikTok. A lot of you that are subscribed won't have been since, you know, since the bad old days. So if you are on TikTok, you might actually see some fresh content that you've never seen before, which is kind of nice. So that's kind of my plan. And the shorts that go on YouTube, that will be fresh content. That will be new stuff. I think that's only fair, given that this is the primary platform where we do things in the cave. So if you see shorts up here on YouTube, and there will be some, I don't know if I'm going to post them every week, but at least once a fortnight I'll be sticking a short up, and that'll be new content that has not been done, you know, it's not been put on TikTok or anywhere else. So if you like that kind of thing, I'm kind of warming to the short form format, you know, from the point of view of actually sitting and watching. It kind of suits me because I don't have a lot of time, and sometimes it's nice to just sit and watch something that's absolutely mindless. So it's beneficial for me if it's only a couple of minutes long. I've picked out the chestnut Graphitint pencil here because I feel it's a nice step up. It's not as red as the autumn brown, but I think it'll be a good next step, and then we'll make the one in there like a sort of birchy colour or something. I would love to know how many of you use TikTok on a regular basis, and if any of you upload videos. I have picked up a couple of you that do post on TikTok, have followed some of our cavers. The one that springs to mind is Gabby. I like Gabby posts quite regularly. Gabby, give us a wave in the comments. So yeah, that's it. It's quite a nice little learning curve, and I'm not finding it too stressful either, which is great as well. Okay, there is this step here, which I think this is just complicating matters that we don't need to complicate. That's not the pencil I wanted at all. I wanted the autumn brown. Give me the autumn brown. And I'm going to make this fairly heavy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in a little bit of that chestnut round the outside. There is quite a lot of pencil down, so that is going to be quite rich, but that was sort of part of the plan, if you like, on this step area. There we go. Cool. Okay, for our last step, I'm going to take the mid vermilion. I really need to sort these Inktense pencils out because they're an absolute riot. They're not even all in the case, and I'm going to end up losing one of them. Yeah, mid vermilion. I'm going to have to get this little sharpener as well. Yeah, it's absolutely rotten outside today. It's one of those days where it hasn't actually properly rained at any point, but it's just been there permanently threatening, and it's finally happened. So it's 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's just wretched outside. It's absolutely wretched. This looks remarkably like the chestnut. I don't know how this is going to go now. Let's see. Oh no, there we go. Okay, a little bit more yellow-ater. Nice! Now, to be fair, that doesn't look like much, but see, by the time we put our finishing touches on the door frames and these lovely big hinges, that's going to look quite the thing. Okay, so I want to find a door that's maybe going to look like a magical door. And I think this little skinny one in here is possibly the one we are looking for. So I think we'll pick... I really like this Polaris colour, which goes from like blue to purple. And I was thinking I might put the peacock blue Inktense pencil down. Again, I'm going to give this a sharpen. So this is going to give us a really nice base here. And I'll just make those panels in there with the shiny bits. That is exactly what we're going to do. The good thing, and this is where it's advantageous, once this Inktense sits on the paper for a minute or two and starts to dry in, it tends to stay put. So if we let this dry and then we go and put Julia's paints on top of it, her paint isn't going to affect this part underneath. I'm kind of thinking as well, in behind this little dude here, that's just like an open space where the dingo or just the dog with the really long ears, whatever it wants to be. I feel like that should have like a, I don't know why, that should have a gradient there, and it should be like a sunrise gradient. I'm going to do it, like I'm going to do it. It's a ridiculously small space to try and fit something like that into, but if there's one thing I can do, it's a sunrise gradient, because as we all know, Jem loves a good gradient. It's one of my lifelong passions, and it was caused by years and years of messing about with Microsoft Publisher. I used to make flyers up and things for my mum and dad's business when I was young, and at the time Microsoft Publisher was really the only thing that you had access to, you know, unless you were going to spend like lots of money. So yeah, that kind of like late 90s, you know, clip art and word art style, there was always gradients involved, and I think that's why I've got such a fixation with them. Okay, I'm going to use I've basically just blended some yellow and orange together there. So when we're activating it, we want to start in the yellow because we don't want to drag too much of the orange up the way, or else it'll just obliterate the yellow. So some people like to start in the transition area, so where your two colours overlap, which I think is a good idea. I'm just really used to starting in the lightest area. But we really want to make that orange ping out a little bit there, look. Ooh! So there you go, that's fun. Just while we're waiting for everything else to dry, we've got a little sunrise going on behind our wee dog there. It's still a wee bit damp. I love that someone suggested green feet as well. We've got this little fixation with these green feet and make them like fairy feet or something. Let's grab another. I'm kind of like fixating on this area now, and I think it's just because I'm starting to build up, you know, the doors that are in the vicinity, so to speak, which is absolutely fine. I am going to grab the russet pencil. Not the russet pencil, the russet Neocolor, and I want to do something exciting in here with this door. So I'm just going to have a light layer of this because I want to be able to work over the top of this with pencil. So that's how we're going to go about this one. And this is basically a really clean version of nearly every door on the farm, with these great big thick locks on them and everything. Kind of cool. I like doors. I'm more to the point, I usually like whatever's behind the doors. In this case, it's some little dude's feet, which is fine. Okay, so again, we'll just we'll get that going. Use a slightly larger brush, and we'll take some time building this up and making it look really good. I feel really tired all of a sudden. I've been getting this a lot, just with everything that was going on in the last couple of months. I really haven't been sleeping well, and I'm not a big sleeper anyway. I'm not very good at sleeping, and I've had sleeping issues since my early 20s. But you know, I've been down to literally a couple of hours a night, and just with everything that's going on, my little brain's been going overtime, and I'm starting to sleep better now. And it's as if my body and my brain have kind of like reconvened and gone, oh, okay, let's do this. And I find myself like I'm really sleepy, and it comes like up upon me all of a sudden. But I think it's more like emotional and mental exhaustion rather than being physically tired. And it's just come upon me now. I could just feel as if I could just wrap a wee blanket around myself and go for a snooze. Let's finish what we're doing here first. So unfortunately, I've got rather a lot to do, which is it's not ideal, really, is it? But I'm just thankful that I'm starting to sleep a bit better. I'm still getting a broken sleep, but what was happening was I was only getting maybe 20 minutes or so. And then I was waking up and I was finding it really difficult to get back to sleep, and it was taking me like 2 hours to get back to sleep, and then the process was repeating. So for example, last night I was awake twice during the night, and the first time I must have been back asleep within maybe 20 minutes or so. I think it was fairly quick, and then the second time was about an hour. You know, the last time I remember looking at the clock, so that's not too bad. And then Mr. Jem woke me up. And it was when this has happened to nearly everybody. Do you know that way when you're really comfortable and you're really settled and you're absolutely bursting for the toilet, and you kind of convince yourself that you don't need to go to the toilet and you can just stay there a wee while longer? That was me this morning when Mr. Jem woke me up. I was like, no, you're fine. You're not bursting. You know, it'll be all right for another half an hour. So I just decided to get up after that. I kind of used to not sleeping very well. It's been with me for so long, but the trick is not to get stressed out about it, because if you do, you're making things worse for yourself. Okay, so now that we've put this down, I am going to go back to the chestnut Graphitint pencil, and once that's dry, I'm going to use that for detail in there, because those two will go quite nice together. I need my poppy red pencil. Now, I think my poppy red pencil is missing, but it's not. This was one I found down the back of the desk. It slid down the back of the desk. So I just want to add in a bit more around this frame here. I would really like to have some pink. I think maybe the curtain in Cafe Max might need to be pink. Maybe fuchsia. That might be a bit offensive, but why not? Maybe we could have it really vibrant at the bottom, and maybe it fades out as it gets near the top. Maybe it's the sun that's faded it. Maybe it's meant to look like that. Let's add a second layer along here. This is actually easier if we turn this way. Just for the record as well, I'm really pleased with the colour that this dries into. So we'll put a slightly thicker layer, you know, press a little bit harder there. And as I come up towards the top of this curtain, I'm just going to let up my pressure. You can see I'm going in that little scumbling motion. It's the easiest way, honestly. And I'm going to go the opposite here because the shading's all at the top of the door. So let's do that. That'll make for a little bit of an interesting variation. I'm waiting on my blue door drying as well. I need these two to dry. So let's grab this. Again, I'm starting in the area that's got the least pencil on it to kind of preserve it a little bit. And then we can start working. That fuchsia pencil is actually really pretty. I'm not a huge fan of pinks and purples, like they're not colours, or blues for that matter, that I tend to get excited about. But every now and then there's like a fuchsia or magenta colour and I'm like, yeah, that's really nice. There's a little pair of eyes up in here above the curtain as well. I've just noticed them as well. That's hilarious. This is what I'm saying, you keep looking at Colin Thompson's pictures and every time you look you see something else. You're like, geez, peeking out there. Oh, there we go, that's lovely. That's what I'm talking about. See, for so long I had this obsession with trying to get really smooth flat colour, and realistically if I wanted that I should just use markers, and I've learned that I actually prefer the complete opposite. Okay, so down here I'm going to grab a paintbrush because I don't want to get sparkles on the water brushes, because remember we've already had this issue down the bottom part here. Okay, just change things up a little bit here. You all thought I was going to get a sea white brush, didn't you? Yeah. This is a Winsor & Newton Cotman #1 round. I never use this paintbrush, but it's got quite a nice point on it, so I thought that would be good for this little space we're getting into. Now, the key to using these holographic paints, and I wouldn't say that this is specific to Julia's, I would say it's the same for everybody. The best way to get the most out of these is to put some water on it and let it sit, and what that does is it really lets the pigment come up and sort of start to swim about, so that when you go to lift it off with your brush you're going to get a lot of the pigment, which makes this holographic element much more dramatic. So I'm just, I've got my little Derwent spritzer here and I'm going to squish this and we'll leave it to sit for a minute. I'm obviously not going to do it on top of here because that would be silly. So we'll let that do its thing for a wee minute, that's fine. While that's doing that, I'll just take this chestnut pencil really quickly, bits and pieces here. So Colin does have some wood grain lines in here, so I'm just going to accentuate some of those and a little bit of interest there. And that's all that it's for. It's not, you know, it's not going to make a life-threatening difference to the actual picture, but it's just nice and it's fun. That's kind of what I'm all about with things like this. You don't get much more fun than a book like this though, to be fair. Oh, there we go. Right, I hope you can see those particles all moving about in there. Maybe if I help them. Yeah, okay. So I'm just loading my brush up as best I can. I've got 2 rogue bristles there. And then we're going to try and do this in one go. Yes. And already, see, well, it looks blue on the camera, but the angle I'm sitting at, it looks purple. It's amazing. I love these. Julia's such a clever lady. Right, let's do the second panel. And that is absolutely spectacular. I am so happy right now. Simple things. Honestly, it's the little things in life, guys. And that's just, this paint's amazing. The fact that Julia made this with her bare hands and some Swedish honey, like, it's just so cool. It's so, so cool. I love it. Okay, yeah, back to my chestnut pencil. That's because I was talking about charcoal to somebody else earlier on. Okay, just finish this part off. I was really interested here. I was sitting reading some of your comments on the last video before I started filming this one, and I was really interested to find out that a lot of you have bought the German copy, just so that you've got a copy. That's really cool. That makes me really happy. I'm kind of glad I looked up for you, and there seems to be an awful lot of you that would really like this book as well. So I hope that you manage to get your hands on a copy. It's absolutely worth it. So even if you don't colour in it, it's one of these books. It's just an absolute spectacle to look through. It really is. I would highly recommend it, even if you're not into colouring, to be honest. I think we'll leave it there for today. When we come back next time, I would like to finish off the Cafe Max storefront there, and we'll grab this little guy's feet. And what we're going to do then is we'll start looking at some of these fixings, and I will show you the pencil technique I'm going to use for the framework. As I mentioned in the last video, I am going to complete that off camera because it's a lot, but I'll show you what I'm doing, and I'm going to do that with normal pencils. I'm not going to do that with water soluble pencils. The reason for that is, if we use water soluble pencils and we're going in and doing all these panels and we're putting more water in, there's a chance that we could upset what we've done in the framework, and we don't want that. So I'll just be using normal wax based pencils, probably polychromos or maybe maybe some Derwent pencil, something like that. So that's what we're going to do in the next video. So if you're still enjoying yourself, you could give the video a thumbs up. That would be great. I do want to break it up. I don't want us to be just sitting colouring doors every time we come back to this book. So I thought we'll switch it up for that next video. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed yourself today. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out with me. And I will see you all back in the cave on Sunday for another video. So have a great day, everyone. And bye-bye for now.